that this is exactly what Matt wanted. I mean, look around you, the young, the old, Democrats, Republicans, rich and poor, coming together to celebrate Matt's life and to carry on the dream that he had.
Here is this young, dynamic council member. He was 21 when he made it on council. He was 22 when he was shot.
He was on the path of being somebody, and I don't think certain people wanted that.
Why are they targeting elected officials?
All units stand by.
I was thinking to myself at that time, I was thinking of enemies that I might have.
And I want to ask him, face to face, why did you kill my grandson?
As Labor Day weekend draws to a close, Fairfield PD Detective Steve Trojanowski has settled in for a quiet night with his family.
We were on a day off. I was at home, spent time with family during the day, and received a call in the early evening that we had a shooting, and they requested that I respond to the police department to act as the lead investigator in the case. Typically in that neighborhood, the houses set back only about 35 to 40 feet from the roadway, so the driveways are short. The victim's car was parked along the roadway. It was a black Cadillac, had personalized plates, and I recognized those plates. I knew that car to belong to City Councilman Matt Garcia.
The popular 22-year-old is a rising star on the Fairfield political scene. But now he's fighting for his life at the local hospital.
He was not moving, appeared to be lifeless when he was transported, and I responded to the hospital and discovered that Matt Garcia had received one gunshot at the base of the back of his skull and that he was brain dead.
I got the call from my deputy chief, and he gave me all the information that was revealed to me in that call, that the victim was Matt Garcia. This was an extremely high-profile case.
Standing in the driveway of the house is a distraught-looking young woman, identified as 18-year-old Sarah Patio.
She was very, very young, visibly shaken, upset, as any teenager would be.
Sarah is able to tell detectives what she witnessed happen.
The victim drove into the subdivision to come visit Sarah. He had made a wrong turn. Once he realized, he made a U-turn and headed back towards Sarah's home. When he arrived and stepped out of his car, she suddenly heard a volley of gunshots. She said the sound of the gunshot scared her and that she took cover for several seconds, and when she returned, she noticed that the victim was lying on the ground motionless. Sarah indicated that she saw a possible suspect vehicle, which she described as a mid-size American car. She also saw a dark-complected male enter that vehicle before it drove off, which she described as a Hispanic or black male.
In addition to Sarah's statement, the crime scene offers a few pieces of evidence.
We located several .22 caliber casings. Amongst other items were the victim's sunglasses and his cell phone. We, however, did not find any weapons at the crime scene.
We actually went live and we broke the story.
The 22-year-old native of Fairfield was gunned down in this Cordelia neighborhood as he was about to visit a female friend.
One of my sources had reached out and said that Matt Garcia was shot. He was the youngest in the city's history to ever make it as a city council member, and at the time he was among the youngest in the entire country to hold office in that capacity.
Fairfield police say they'll stop at nothing to find the person or persons who shot Councilman Matt Garcia.
My house phone rang, and my house phone never rang. And it was my friend Terry. And she said, have you talked to Matt today? And I said, yeah, I talked to him earlier. And she said, Teresa, I think he just got shot. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, yeah, I think he just got shot. So I hung up with her and I started calling Matt's phone. And it just kept going to voicemail.
I seen Mom, like, running up the stairs saying that Matt had got shot. I didn't really want to believe what was happening. And so I kind of just like sat on my bed and was like, you know, got shot. That's just a very weird thing, you know, to like, what? That doesn't just happen. People don't just get shot.
I started calling the non-emergency police line to find out if it was true, if they could tell me what's happening. And they said an officer's gonna come pick you up, and then our phone's ringing off the hook. Like, the word is already out. People have already heard that Matt's been shot.
He was such an outgoing, vibrant young man, and he was just really very, very concerned about the community and what he wanted to do for it.
I was walking down the street and down here downtown, and he said, I'm Matt Garcia and I'm running for a city council person. Will you vote for me? And because he was so young, I never had a young person come up to me that wanted to go into somewhat politics. And I was like, of course, I'll do it.
People were concerned, you know, is a killer on the loose, and why did they kill Matt? What's going on?
As word of the shooting spreads, Matt's family and friends gather at the hospital to hold vigil.
There was already so many people there, and the media, and all the council members, the city manager, and we got to go in and see Matt. And he just looked peaceful, he looked beautiful. But you couldn't tell that he had been shot.
Matt had got shot in the back of the head, you know, and it severed his brainstem, and that bullet got lodged in his brain.
And the emergency room doctor came out. I don't know how much time had passed before he came out. And he said it was a devastating wound.
And I just got on my knees and I was just praying. And because I knew the finality of what that doctor said.
I had patrol division do a neighborhood canvass. Many of the people that we contacted were unaware that the crime had occurred. However, there were some neighbors which heard several shots.
We were really at a loss originally why somebody would do this to him.
The question of why has everyone in Fairfield working up a theory.
When Matt was running for city council, the gang issue in Fairfield was it was pretty big.
Some of the first things that we started to hear is that it was a gang hit, that the gangs had targeted him because he was trying to, you know, to encourage youth out of the gang lifestyle, out of the thug lifestyle.
He was very much against violence. He was opposed to youth getting into criminal activity, being involved with weapons. That was his thing. And the fact that Matt was so vocal about it, that was one of the things. Well, was he targeted because he was so vocal about that?
After a sleepless night at the crime scene, Fairfield investigators look to build on the little they know.
We felt, and the more we thought about it, he must have been targeted, especially since he was shot and hit in the back of the head. We do a workup of the area to see if we have any ex-convicts in the vicinity, gang members, anybody that has a history of crimes of violence. And there was an individual who lived on that street who had actually been to prison.
Roger was a known gang member and he dealt in narcotics. Earlier, Sarah said that when the victim entered the subdivision, he made a wrong turn. And as it turns out, eventually made a U-turn in front of Roger's home.
What's the probability of this being simply a coincidence?
So he was naturally a person that we wanted to speak to as a possible lead.
That night, somebody had set out to kill my brother. And ultimately, they did what they set out to do.
Today, Garcia's family said their final goodbyes to Matt. He'll remain on life support until his organs are donated.
At that point, this was clearly a murder case and not just a shooting.
Whoever's responsible, my advice to you is to turn yourself in. We will find you, we will catch you.
So things were very intense, and I could remember the police standing by other council members physically with them to protect them because they just didn't know. Governor Schwarzenegger, he was the governor at the time, immediately put up $50,000 for information leading to the arrest of those who were responsible for killing Matt. Those funds were matched by city council and also, I believe, by the board of supervisors. So by the end of all of it, it was at least $150,000.
12 hours into Matt Garcia's murder investigation, the best lead detectives have to go on is no more than a hunch.
The victim had made a wrong turn when entering the subdivision and made a U-turn. As it turns out, he made a U-turn in front of a known criminal's house. When you have a ex-convict and gang member living in the area of a crime scene, naturally, because of their past history and possibility of violence, look at those people as a possible lead in solving the homicide.
But does ex-con Roger Gundy have a motive to kill the young council member?
Roger was not very forthcoming. He indicated that he was away from home at the time of the crime and that he had witnesses. We believed he was being deceptive and not being truthful about his involvement.
Despite his behavior, Roger's alibi is confirmed. This means he's free to go. If he's connected to Matt's murder, detectives will need to figure out how and why. In the meantime, a new lead has materialized.
I heard about a girl, that he went to go visit a girl.
There were rumors about the girl that Matt was with, that Matt had gone over to see.
Matt was hugging her in the driveway, and once he was done hugging her was when the bullets started flying.
Was Matt the intended target, or was it this young friend, Sarah, who they were targeting? People were scared. It was scary just going back to the neighborhood to try to do follow-up reports because we just didn't know if the suspect was local or if this was someone that came out of town. We just didn't know.
Detectives returned to the crime scene to interview Sarah, the young woman who witnessed the attack.
Sarah was a potential girlfriend, but they were still pretty fresh and didn't know each other well.
They had been friends for some time, and it was very typical for him to come over and visit. It wasn't like a romantic relationship or anything like that. They were just really good friends.
We did our due diligence on Sarah as far as checking in her background to see if did she have any motive to want Matt to be killed or somebody else that she possibly was related to or affiliated with.
Sarah claims to not know anyone holding a grudge against her or Matt, though she does make an interesting admission.
Sarah explained that she had an ex-boyfriend who was jealous.
We got his information from Sarah. I want to account for his action, his whereabouts when this occurred.
Despite hours of searching, Sarah's ex-boyfriend Eric is nowhere to be found.
We developed information that Eric was in Honolulu, Hawaii. We thought there was a possibility that he had committed this crime and then fled the state to avoid detection. We asked Honolulu Police Department to follow Eric and see if they could obtain any information as to his movements and any possible involvement in the crime.
A week after Matt Garcia's murder, his family and the community he represented gathered to mourn his loss.
There was just so many people, and I knew Matt would love that.
This is a celebration of the life of Matt Garcia, who had a dream rooted in a commitment and passion to make a lasting difference in this community for generations to come.
Thousands and thousands of people. I'm like, oh my gosh. And you know, all these people, they knew him.
I'm Matt's grandmother. He was my hero. I loved him very, very much. I just want to put some closure in my life, and I want to ask face to face, why did you kill my grandson? Why did you do it? Didn't you know how much we loved him?
Despite the overflow of mourners, everyone seems to be talking about the one person not in attendance, the victim's biological father, Matt Garcia Sr.
During Matt's funeral, they wouldn't let the biological father come to the funeral.
There was some speculation from the public asking questions as to why Matt Sr. was not at the funeral.
You know, Matt was raised by a loving family. His mom is wonderful, his stepfather, but his dad had a past. He had a history. From what I know, he was involved in gangs at one time.
There was a lot of rumors about that Matt's death was related to gang retaliation due to his dad.
His father had past brushes with the law. and that perhaps something came out of there. And some of them were vicious and just downright ugly.
People are gonna speculate, you know, make them into rumors and stuff like that until the truth comes out.
Matt loved his dad. I mean, he, his dad had his challenges and, wasn't always there. And there was some resentment from Matt for that.
As the community grapples with the unanswered questions about Matt Garcia's murder, detectives look into whether the stories swirling around Matt Sr. could be true.
Matt Garcia Sr. was an inmate in the California correctional system. We had information that Matt Sr. was a gang member in the state prison. We developed information that someone may have wanted to retaliate against Matt Sr. by attacking his son.
For Matt's mother, Teresa, the thought that someone was perhaps hunting her son brings forward a memory she all but forgot.
Matt would visit different churches, and after the service, we would go out in the front of the church, which faced the parking lot, and Matt had already been telling us that he felt like people were watching him, and we're like, oh my gosh, Matt, you're a city councilman in Fairfield. You're not the president of the United States. You're okay. Nobody's watching you. So we're in the parking lot, and we see this car, and somebody in the back seat, I believe it was a woman, was taking pictures of Matt. And he goes, see? And so my husband Raymond started walking towards the car, and they took off.
That started popping up in my head, like, are these connected? Could this be connected?
A week after 22-year-old city council member Matt Garcia's murder, talk around town seems centered on one idea.
People that really didn't know Matt and knew what he stood for, people did look at him like, was there a reason that he was shot? Could have been maybe gang ties, maybe with his birth father. I remember that there was some speculation about that.
Matt's dad, we got together when I was 15, he was 18, and just a crazy relationship, violence and drugs, alcohol, and then we had these two little kids. I finally left that relationship.
His father, was a gang member, an active gang member for a long time, and a pretty prominent member.
And so a lot of the rumors were it was a gang hit, and we just didn't know if it was maybe somebody in a gang that was trying to earn stripes, as they do with initiations.
With the rumors of gang affiliation and Matt possibly being killed by a rival gang because of his dad being affiliated with the opposite gang, it was devastating. But we absolutely did think that was a possibility.
I didn't attend his funeral for that reason. They didn't want to put a guard out there with me because of safety reasons. It could be a hit on me. I was involved in gangs at a young age, in prison gangs and stuff like that. I was thinking to myself at that time, I was thinking of enemies that I might have.
Matt Sr. is not the only one thinking this way. Though out of the gang life, his old associates tell police they still have his back.
We actually got word back from the dad's gang that you guys need to, we think that it's our rivals, and either you guys solve this or we're gonna solve it. We were putting a big presence on the streets with other law enforcement agencies. We had law enforcement officers come down as far from Oakland to assist us, to make sure that we didn't have any type of gangland war breakout.
In addition to the Fairfield Police Department, nearly 100 officers from outside agencies are assisting in the investigation. The suspect description is vague, but police say they're working on numerous leads.
While detectives focus on gang-related angles, Matt's case going unsolved has anger and frustration growing in the community.
People wanted to get revenge. We're gonna find out what's going on, who did this, and all his friends. And Matt knew so many people, you know, so there was this massive amount of people that wanted to get revenge for Matt being murdered.
Among those desperate to help is Matt's best friend, Scott.
There was just like an anger inside me that kind of just wanted to know what happened and really get to the bottom of it.
Scott decides to launch his own shadow investigation by working the streets.
The days following, Matt being shot, there's just a lot of craziness and a lot of wanting to get answers and figuring out what happened. And we knew a lot of people growing up in the community. I mean, a lot of people, we got to meet a lot of people in high places, and growing up, we knew a lot of people in low places. And there was just so many rumors flying around. I mean, hundreds, and I'm sure the police could tell you there's probably even hundreds more.
Most of these people that Scott brought in willingly came in, but they were more than a little nervous about coming in and giving a statement.
Though the leads generally go nowhere, Scott's presence on the streets does get people talking. And all of them are saying, this has to have been personal.
Matt had a unique way of going out there and getting involved in the community and finding out what was really going on. So, there were maybe people that weren't happiest about that.
He was on the path of being somebody, right? He was already somebody in our small town, but he was getting noticed by tons of other people. And I don't think certain people wanted that.
Here you have this young soul, 21 years old, with all these exciting ideas in his head and the changes that he wanted to make, and he was emphatic about that. But some people who, want to keep things as the status quo might even view him as a threat.
Matt did not want to make waves. And I think sometimes at 21 years old, he didn't understand when the waves were starting.
When this occurred, we had all these different working theories, but this could have been somebody who did not agree with Matt. Could be an ordinary citizen. It could have been somebody that had been coming to council, speaking out, doing a public comment. It could have been anybody that actually did this, that had a grudge against Matt.
It's also very scary for a public official like a council person, because a lot of times they are the target of someone's anger. They are seen as being the person that is responsible for whatever may be going wrong in their district or in their neighborhood.
Initially, we did not know why Matt Garcia was targeted. And as a precaution, many of our other city councilmen and the mayor were protected by the police department to ensure that we didn't have another instance.
The investigators, of course, asked us, have you been threatened? Are people angry at you? Anything that would lead to somebody's mad at an elected official and they want to hurt an elected official. And of course, what I, and I'm sure the rest of the council members told him was, there's always somebody angry at an elected official.
During the investigation, we had a person calling the city offices and making threats toward other elected officials within the city. Those threats happened in the days following Matt Garcia's homicide. We determined that the threats were not real. We investigated the threats and ultimately discovered that the person making the threats was a local resident with some mental health issues.
Matt's mother, Teresa, does believe that something or someone at City Council was troubling Matt.
He would sometimes come home and just be like, oh my God, Mom, you won't believe what happened tonight. And it would be a closed session of a council meeting, which he couldn't tell me about.
The night Matt is killed, she overhears a heated argument.
Matt was talking on the phone to somebody. I still don't know to this day who he was talking to, but there had been some stuff that happened on the council. One of the council members had been in some trouble, and Matt wanted that council member to resign. The way he was talking made me uncomfortable, and he still kept talking, and he was walking back and forth, and he said, yeah, he needs to step down, and just going on. And so I said, I'm gonna go, Matt. And I said, I love you, and I left.
It doesn't take police long to find out who Matt was talking about.
You always start at the end. Who is Matt Garcia, and who possibly could have a motive to do him some type of harm?
It was just a gut feeling. I just felt that there was some connection there.
Matt was out to make Fairfield a better place, and his message and the way that he got it out might have been perceived as a threat to people that were used to the way that things were being run in Fairfield.
I think that Matt really felt that there were people that didn't give him the respect that they should have given him. You know, let's face it, he was in a position of authority and he was 21 years old. He felt that there were people that didn't like him, people that kind of wanted him to fail because he was a young person who was in a powerful position.
As possible gang-related leads dry up, new, more personal rumors start seeping into discussions. Could the 22-year-old councilman Matt Garcia have ruffled the wrong feathers on Fairfield City Council?
Matt certainly had a vision on what he wanted, the direction he wanted the city to go once he came on the council. There were others on the council that didn't agree with the direction that Matt was trying to go.
Speaking to Matt's colleagues, detectives learned there is someone particularly rattled by Matt's success.
Another city councilman at the time, Frank Cardos, was under investigation.
Frank had been arrested and was awaiting to go to trial on a domestic violence charge. Him and Matt, I don't think they saw eye to eye.
Frank Cardos did not like him, and Matt wanted him off the council.
I want to say perhaps a week before Matt was killed, we had a city councilman that had been on trial, and Matt had been discussing with myself and some other folks that if this council member is convicted, he can't serve on the council, and who can we replace him with?
Frank Cardos, we'd been a councilman for a little bit. Definitely he wasn't a fan of Matt, and Matt wasn't a fan of his. There was definitely some beef there, especially once Matt got elected. And you know, Matt wasn't shy about telling people that he didn't think that Frank was fit to be a city councilman, that he didn't feel that Frank was a person that represented what Fairfield City Council needed.
The council member that he was talking about found out that Matt was asking, who can you replace me with? And Matt was pretty disturbed about that. I want to say 5 or 6 days later, Matt was murdered.
He was there at the hospital after Matt was killed and everything, but we didn't really conversate. I knew he didn't like Matt, and Matt knew that too.
Matt Garcia had made some inquiries with other public figures and friends in the area in an effort to possibly replace Frank Cardos on the city council. One of our concerns was that possibly someone was upset about those efforts.
The detective's question: is Councilman Cardos the mastermind behind Matt's murder? In the investigation's second week, detectives have two potential persons of interest: Council member Frank Cardos and Sarah's ex-boyfriend, Eric.
Myself and an investigator from the Solano County District Attorney's Office were preparing to fly to Hawaii to visit and interview Sarah's ex-boyfriend in Honolulu.
We had an individual call in to our tip line.
We had information as to who the killer was in the Matt Garcia case. That information changed everything. Everything.
He looked at us and he said, he was real excited. He was like, he said, man, I've been wanting to do that for a long time.
I heard it on the news and I was shocked. I was so shocked.
And then once the news of what actually happened and they made the arrest, it was just kind of mind-blowing, almost like I didn't believe it.
When you say it's strange, we were flabbergasted. We were stunned. There's no playbook for that. You can't, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do.
And he looked back at me and he said, when he was wiping the gun, he said, you better not say anything.
For 2 weeks, investigators have looked into multiple theories as to why beloved Councilman Matt Garcia was killed. But now, a member of the public has come forward claiming to know the real story. It's a version of events no one has heard before.
I received a call from a male that indicated that he was in the suspect vehicle when this murder occurred. He identified himself by name as Gene Combs. 45 minutes later, Gene Combs showed up with 2 civilian witnesses who had encouraged him to come to the police department.
Combs is booked based on his confession.
I came in here my own free will. You guys, they weren't even looking for me.
And then detectives sit him down to get it all on tape.
Gene Combs said that he was in the suspect vehicle when this crime occurred with Henry Don Williams and Henry Don Williams' girlfriend. According to Gene Combs, the 3 had come to the Cordelia area to contact a person who had sold them narcotics earlier in the day. They were unhappy with the sale of the narcotics and had come there to get a refund for their purchase.
I was upset because I thought he was stiffing me for my $50.
The name of the person who sold Gene and his friends the drugs brings the investigation back full circle for detectives.
We had earlier investigated the possibility that Roger was somehow involved in the murder. Oddly, Roger was involved, but not in the manner that we originally believed.
And they drove out to Roger's house, and Roger wasn't home. And as they were leaving, they passed Matt.
According to Combs, while on his way to see his friend Sarah, Matt made a fatal mistake.
Matt Garcia came into the subdivision and made a wrong turn. He ended up realizing his mistake and by happenstance made a U-turn in front of the dope dealer's residence. Gene Combs and Williams saw Matt Garcia make the U-turn and they followed him. Henry Don Williams believed that the person driving the black Cadillac was Roger.
Henry said, "Is that him right there?" And I told him, no. I said, "That's not his car." Okay. And he said, "You sure that's not him?" I said, "No, that's not him." And that's when Henry gets out of the car. I don't see him. I don't see anything in his hand. And the next thing I know, that's when I heard the gunshots. I seen Henry, have his arm out. I seen the muzzle flashes.
And one of the rounds struck Matt in the back of the head.
And he looked back at me and he said, when he was wiping the gun, he said, you better not say anything.
Who did he tell you he had shot?
He didn't.
He was not trying to kill Matt Garcia. He didn't know that was Matt Garcia, city councilman. This was a case of mistaken identity.
To find out that these two suspects went after a guy on a drug deal and they mistook Matt for being that person, it's just heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking.
That was just the toughest pill for everybody to swallow, was that nobody saw it coming, and it was just, to be a true random act of violence, it's just, it was just a tough pill to swallow.
The community is left to clean up the damage caused by gossip and rumors in the wake of the tragedy.
Sarah was just a young friend of Matt. It was really unfair, the scrutiny that she was under after that. Here she was dealing with her close friend who was shot right before her, and at the same time she's kind of defending her honor too, because people were saying things about her that just weren't true.
I think that the speculation and the rumors after Matt was shot, it placed a wedge between all of us, and I myself felt several times like, are these people really our friends?
Those were vicious, vicious rumors, none of which were ever true. But those wounds, they go deep, especially to his friends and family when he's not here to defend himself.
A week later, detectives track down Henry Don Williams in Las Vegas and bring him to California to stand trial. In 2010, he's convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 50 years to life. His girlfriend is never charged. Gene Combs is found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 15 years to life. Matt's biological father, Sarah, her ex-boyfriend Eric, Roger, and council member Frank Cardos are all completely cleared of any involvement in Matt's death. More than a decade after his death, Matt's legacy lives on.
So I believe that people are inspired by Matt.
He stood for making Fairfield a better town, and so everybody just wanted to keep doing that.
Lots of the merchants want the pictures of Matt in their storefronts, and kids, they named a school after Matt, and at the youth center, that's what Matt wanted kids to have a place to go and things to do, besides just hanging out at the mall or on the streets. He wanted to be the mayor of Fairfield. That's what he said, and we knew he was going to do it. Everybody knew he was going to be the mayor of Fairfield one day.